I have tested lots of mice that offer good fingertip experiences within their categories, and today I'll do a light touch review on 6 of those mice, and I'll do my best to explain the benefits of the shape they represent in the context of fingertip grip. This is of course my opinion of these products based on my experience with them over the last 6 weeks. We've got the Razer Orochi V2, the G Pro X Superlight, the HSK Pro, the MZ1 Wireless, the Pulsar X2 Mini, the HTX Ace, and the Pulsar Xlite V2 Mini. For reference, I have 21 centimeters by 11 centimeters hands, and I'll talk about these mice in the order that I had my experience with them. First off, I'll start by talking about the egg-shaped mice, represented today by the Razer Orochi V2. The shape itself works well enough for fingertip grip. The left side of the mouse offers a nice groove for your thumb to sit in, but there's really no anchor points on the right-hand side of the mouse. And before I plastered mine with grip tape, I struggled to find a comfortable grip with the mouse. It feels quite wide in the middle where I rest my thumb, and it tapers off aggressively towards the back. Overall, it is comfortable enough to use if you have grip tape installed. The main issue with the Orochi for fingertip is the height of the hump. I often subconsciously use a hybrid grip with this mouse. As the hump is so high, I tend to rest a knuckle on the hump. But if I force a fingertip grip with no knuckle contact, I find the infrequent palm contact not too distracting, and I can achieve a pretty good range of motion with it. I don't think there are too many different ways to grip the Orochi, I may be wrong. Because of the way it tapers off at the back, it's somewhat limiting in that regard. It kind of forces you to use a mid-mouse grip. In terms of weight balancing, this is quite a funky one. It has a very top-heavy feeling, which makes its swipes feel a bit clumsy while fingertipping, and overall the weight of the Orochi is too high in the shell, and it makes it feel sluggish in comparison to other mice on this list. The skates are a reasonable size, and I find they offer a good balance of speed and stability, which is needed with the issues mentioned already, reference weight balancing. The Orochi is a good performer on both cloth and glass surfaces, although I note it feels a bit clumsier on glass due to the weight balancing issues. Where this mouse and its category really shines is the cost. I can buy an Orochi in the UK for about £40 off of Amazon, which is insane value for money. Other egg mice are also generally quite cheap too, so this category of mice is my recommendation for budget gamers, and possibly gamers new to fingertip grip. If you don't want to make a big investment, you could start with an egg shape and see if fingertip works for you. In summary, the mouse, in my opinion, is not optimized for a strict fingertip grip. I think some form of hybrid approach with a knuckle in contact with the peak of the hump would work well for most people though. All things considered, the Orochi is insane bang for your buck. So the second mouse on this list I want to talk about is the G Pro X Superlight from Logitech, which represents the large ambidextrous mouse market. This is often referred to as a potato. The story here is somewhat similar to the Orochi in that it is quite tall and the shape isn't designed with fingertip grip in mind. I often hit my palm with the hump of the mouse when fingertipping, and the position of my fingers on mouse 1 and 2 are so high it is a little bit uncomfortable, almost like it requires extreme ranges of motion to use any sort of fingertip adjustment when I pull the mouse back towards me. It is easier to grip than the Orochi, and I find I rest my thumb and pinky on the back hump, but this makes the side buttons on this shape almost impossible to reach without a severe grip adjustment. Because the Superlight is a bit longer than the Orochi, it could be a bit of a stretch to reach the mouse wheel, but it's still very usable. You will probably struggle to fingertip the Superlight if you have smaller hands. Basically, the bigger your hands are, the better an option this mouse becomes for you. In terms of weight balancing, this is one of the most popular mice on the planet, and for very good reason. The weight balancing is great on this mouse. It's not an issue that you'll need to consider. With reference to speed and stability, there is a lot of surface area on the Superlight, and it is relatively light for its size. I find it offers great stability with good speed. It also performs equally well on cloth and glass pads, so you don't need to consider necessarily which surface you're playing on. It will do well on both. In terms of whether it is budget friendly or not, It's not really that budget friendly. It's often on sale for less than £100, but quite often you'll find it on Amazon for above that point. So in summary, the Superlight works well enough for fingertip grip if you already have one, but it isn't the best option on this list. Due to the uncomfortable grip position on the Superlight with really high click height coupled with the expensive price, I can't in good conscience recommend the mouse for a fingertip gripper. There are other mice on this list that will serve you better. The third mouse I want to talk about is the HSK Pro, which is designed exclusively for fingertip grip. And what I mean by that is it's not possible to grip the mouse with a different style. There aren't too many ways to grip this mouse because it is so small, but I put my thumb and pinky on the back hips, and because this mouse was designed for fingertip grip, the mouse buttons aren't too far away from my thumb. You can easily access the back mouse button just by rolling your thumb, and the front mouse button requires a slight adjustment to grip to actuate. I find this is a very comfortable mouse for me to use because it just kind of fits in my hand. If I put my hand palm down on the desk, it naturally falls into the shape I need to grip this mouse. To rehash my previous claims, this mouse feels like you're aiming with your fingertips. And to steal a description from a viewer, it feels like you're controlling your cursor with a gesture rather than manipulating an object. The range of motion on the HSK Pro is unmatched. It's the best of any mouse on this list today, and I find it accurate and comfortable at all extremes of the range of motion I can achieve with it. That said, the mouse is very small, and not all users can find a comfortable grip with it. So in that sense, it's a little bit of a risk. In terms of weight balancing, there really isn't much weight on this thing to balance. But the weight that is there feels like it's distributed well enough throughout the mouse. With reference to speed and stability, one of the most underrated things about Wolves mice is that you can put any mouse feet on them that you want. You can really change the way this mouse feels by doing this. But due to the width of the mouse, regardless of how big the skates are, there isn't an abundance of stability, and you are really reliant on your mouse control to perform well with it. This is the mouse I've used over the last 4 months, and doing so has undoubtedly made my aim improve with all other mice due to the increased requirement for control. The HSK offers the best speed, but also the lowest stability of any mouse on this list. I prefer using the HSK Pro on cloth pads solely for this reason. The friction that comes from cloth works well for me when combined with the HSK Pro lightweight and low footprint. The stability on cloth pads feels much better than it does on glass, especially with this mouse. With reference to it being budget friendly, it's not really budget friendly, and you'll need to weigh up whether it's worth the risk to buy it for you. So in summary, this is as close to raw aim input as you can get, in my opinion, because you don't have any additional weight or surface area to help mask your poor aim input. It is also a really super immersive experience. And in my opinion, now that I have used other mice regarded as good for fingertip grip, I feel that the friction of a cloth pad or maybe a Cerapad Kin, which is a more controlled glass surface, is required to get the best out of this mouse. And I'm sure this is a skill issue on my part, but the majority of us won't have the mouse control required to manage this little beast on a fast glass surface. In my opinion, this is a good recommendation for cloth pad users. So the fourth mouse I want to talk about today is the MZ1 Wireless from Xtrfy and Rocket Jump Ninja. And this mouse represents thin, small mice with contouring on one side. This is a bit of an odd one, honestly, and I fell in love with it immediately. It's got heavy contours on the left-hand side, and it's very thin and long. And if I was referring to it as a car, it'd be a Porsche. It's got curves in all the right places. The right-hand side has angled but straight sides, which offer your pinky and ring finger some good anchor points without dictating where you should place your fingers. I think all hand sizes would work well with this mouse. It also has a really low click height, which I personally enjoy in my mice more generally. The range of motion is also very good. This will depend on which hump you use though. The MZ1 comes with 2 options, and if you use the bigger hump, you will probably experience some palm contact. It doesn't feel too dissimilar to the HSK Pro when I grip it from the back. The main difference being the MZ1 has a slightly higher mouse 1 and 2 button press, and it's much heavier, it's actually twice as heavy, and much longer. The second grip I use on this mouse is smack bang in the middle. It feels like I'm gripping a laser pointer when I grip it this way, and it feels really fun to use. It's quite a versatile mouse in that regard, and I can be accurate with both grips, but find the side buttons to be more accessible when I grip it from the middle. It's the same for the mouse wheel. As the mouse is long and thin, it is a bit of a stretch to reach the mouse wheel if I'm gripping it from the back. The Mouse 1 and 2 button design is my favourite implementation of any mouse I've tested. Not specifically the clicks, but the design of the buttons themselves, super comfortable to use. The biggest issue I have with this mouse is the weight balancing. It just doesn't feel right. And while I know I can adjust this with the screws, or even mod the mouse by pulling some excess weight out, the out-of-the-box experience is quite front-heavy, which makes my backside grip feel quite clumsy. In terms of speed and stability, I immediately aimed well with the MZ1 and my aim felt very sticky in-game. Don't forget, I came from the HSK Pro straight to the MZ1 Wireless at the time I was playing on glass. I think this feeling of sticky aim was due to the additional size and weight of the MZ1 Wireless, and it provided better stability and less unwanted aim inputs due to the lighter clicks and bigger surface area when compared to the HSK. That said, when compared to other mice in this list, it does struggle in both speed due to its weight and stability due to its weight balancing and lack of width. These issues are exaggerated on glass speed pads and less obvious on cloth pads, therefore suggest it's better for those using cloth pads. If you're buying this brand new, it is quite expensive, and in my opinion, you'll probably want to modify this mouse to reduce the weight. So it could be a big investment if you aren't careful. However, it is a polarizing mouse, and for that reason, you'll likely find some second-hand units online. I picked one up for £65, which I think is a bargain. So in summary, this is the most fun I've had testing a mouse. The shape is so unique and fun to use, and I genuinely couldn't put this one down when it arrived. If the weight balancing was dialed in, and they knocked 15 grams off the weight out the box, this would be an absolute banger, and possibly a new main for me. The shape is somewhat niche, and I can't find many reviewers on YouTube that really like the MZ1, but for me, I can't help but feel this is a criminally underrated option for fingertip grippers. The fifth mouse I want to discuss with you today is the Pulsar X2 Mini, which represents the small ambidextrous mice without too much contouring. This is a very safe mouse shape, and to me, it looks and feels a bit dull. It doesn't appear to be anything special, but when I fired up the aim trainer, it instantly clicked. The way a mouse looks and feels doesn't always translate to performance, and the X2 Mini was a brilliant performer for me. With reference to range of motion, I had a good range of motion with the X2 Mini, and it wasn't as bad as the G Pro or the Orochi, but it wasn't as good as the MZ1 or the HSK. I also found the back hump to be comfortable to rest my thumb and pinky on, and the straight sides offered a good place for my ring finger to rest without forcing me into any uncomfortable positions. In terms of weight balancing, it comes in at about 52 grams and is balanced extremely well. It doesn't feel either heavy or light, but it does feel much lighter on glass pads. In terms of speed and stability, it has a very wide base in comparison to the MZ1 and HSK, which provides a lot of stability and a lot of control, such that I haven't experienced on any of my previous fingertip mice, so up to this point in the video. The control it provides gave me huge confidence when using this mouse. The first time I booted up Kovacs with the X2 Mini, I repeatedly hit high scores, or close to high scores, in all of my aim subtype scenarios. The X2 Mini is a good performer on cloth and glass pads. You know, I can't say that it's better on one or the other, it just does well on both. And in terms of budget, full price, it will cost you about £95. But I picked one up refurbished for £65, which feels like it is really good value. In summary, I have no real issues with this mouse, other than it's just not very exciting. Despite how well I performed with it, I didn't gravitate towards it when it came to game time, and I preferred to use, for whatever reason, other mice on my desk. This is more a reflection on me as a person though, and maybe just a sign that I probably need to grow up. I'd suggest this is a solid option, particularly for average or low-skilled players, as the stability and weight it offers also helps to mask poor aim inputs. This mouse represents the small mouse market more generally, like the Lamzu Atlantis smaller claw grip specialized mice, and as such, it will work for you in claw grip too if you don't enjoy the fingertip experience. The next mouse I want to discuss with you today is the Wolves HTX Ace. It's a small mouse with heavy contours on both sides, often compared to the Viper Mini. This mouse represents the Viper Mini or Final Mouse Starlight 12 Small style of shape, and it's extremely light, quite low and flat, which makes it ideal for fingertip. It's shaped like an hourglass. I found this mouse to be uncomfortable to begin with, as I was trying to grip it at the back, like I do with the MZ1, but the HTX is too wide at the back for me to have a comfortable grip, making it feel like my hands were under stress in this position. So I moved to a middle of the mouse grip, and this worked pretty well for me. The range of motion I could achieve with this mouse was slightly less than I could with the other mice, because the hump is quite long at the back, and that, coupled with my middle of the mouse grip, means the hump touches my palm without too much movement, but that's not to say the range of motion isn't acceptable. With my fingers in the middle grip, I can access the side buttons without too many issues, and when I found the right grip with the mouse, I was hitting clips in game like no one's business, and my confidence was sky high. In terms of weight balancing, it comes in at 36 grams, and the mouse is insanely light for its size. And I think you can feel the compromises they have had to make to get it to this weight. And if I squeezed the mouse, I'm quite sure I could break it. But we aren't in the business of squeezing our mice in the log pile house, so it's not really a problem I will experience, provided you aren't prone to sitting on your PC peripherals. The balance in the HTX is also excellent. In terms of speed and stability, it feels similar to the HSK in terms of that aiming with your eyes feeling, but it offers a good chunk more stability. So I found it to be a little easier to control at all ranges, and specifically easier to control on glass speed surfaces. The stability isn't the best on offer on this list, but it is good enough in my opinion, and coupled with the speed offered by this mouse, it has quickly become my new main on any mousepad surface. It works really well on both cloth and glass. In terms of budget, there are a few different options for the HTX, but if you buy the cheapest option, it comes in about £100 with a discount code. I think this is quite good value, honestly, when I consider how well I play with it. In summary, even though I felt a little awkward at first, the HTX Ace is a really good option for fingertip grip. It's also a good example of an immersive aim experience, and I'd say it's the next best thing compared to the HSK Pro in terms of aiming with your eyes. And it also is a very good mouse for claw grip, which means if you don't get on with it with fingertip, you can still get use out of it in claw grip. This is a really solid recommendation for glass and cloth pad users, a pretty solid all-rounder in my opinion, and it's the mouse that I am subconsciously drawn to in my collection when it comes to game time. The final mouse I want to discuss today is the Pulsar Xlite V2 Mini. It's a small ergonomic shape, and it really surprised me. So the shape is super interesting for fingertip, which really surprised me. Due to the shape, it puts my fingers in a somewhat natural position on the mouse, and I don't feel like I have to contort my fingers to gain purchase on the mouse in any way. It gives you some good anchor points due to its inherent design. I like the options you have for thumb placement too, and with the right grip tape, you'll find you have many places you can use as an anchor point on the thumb side of the mouse. I found a few grips that work on a small ergo shape, and each grip approach really changes the experience. And if you grip it from the front, it feels somewhat like most other mice. If you grip it from the back, you feel super locked in and in control, and that's my preference. And if you do whatever this grip is, hopefully you can see it on screen now, it also feels completely usable and unlike anything else I've tried. It has good versatility in terms of grip styles, and you can use a strict fingertip grip or a more relaxed hybrid approach due to the size and height of the hump. It also has surprisingly good range of motion, even with the height of that hump. The click height is a little more elevated than the MZ1, HTX and HSK, but it works well enough given the overall design of the mouse. It's possibly not a good fingertip option for those with smaller hands, so I'd consider that. In terms of weight balancing, it comes in about 55 grams, and it is balanced brilliantly. The mouse offers the best stability of any mouse on this list. It has a very wide base with good surface area on the feet. It also has very low center of gravity, which means the weight feels close to the pad, which is a good thing in my experience. This mouse also offers the most variety of experiences depending on which surface you play it on. On a cloth pad, it's like you're the captain steering a ship with precision through the sea. When you put it on a glass pad, it feels like you're ice skating with precision and control. It's weird to me how different it feels on different surfaces. It performs very well on both cloth and glass, but the experience changes significantly between the two. In terms of how this performs for your budget, it is quite affordable. It's £75 brand new, and they've just released some new retro colours, which I think are pretty cool. I'm sure you could find some second-hand older models if you looked around, and this is a very good option for budget gamers. So in summary, this could be a really good option for shaky aimers due to the increased weight and stability it offers. It provides great options for all grip styles, whether it's fingertip, claw or palm. They all work well on the Xlite V2 Mini. If you don't like one grip, you're almost guaranteed to find something that will work well for you with this mouse. It has a really nice solid feeling on cloth and a light and balanced feeling on glass. And I perform very well with this mouse on my Serapad Kin, and I've hit some high scores on my clicking scenarios with that combination. So what are my top 3 picks? Overall, the mouse that I felt most confident on, given all its attributes, was the HTX from Wolves. I think this is because of the lightweight, which meant I could be more reactive and immersed in my gameplay, coupled with the stability it offers with the wide back end. And after I found a comfortable grip, there wasn't really anything about this mouse that bothered me, other than my fear of sitting on it. It's hard to put into words the way a mouse makes you feel in game, but with the HTX, I feel formidable. The runner-up would be the MZ1 Wireless because it's so fun to use, but the MZ1 is let down by its weight balancing issues, resulting in poor stability on glass pads, which unfortunately is my favourite playing surface. In third place, I'd put the HSK Pro, which is only let down by the lack of stability on glass pads, which again happens to be my favourite playing surface. If I was a cloth pad user, this would be a contender for my #1 mouse. If you still don't know which mice to buy, your safest options that provide great performance are the 2 offerings from Pulsar, the X2 Mini and the Xlite V2 Mini. They're not too niche, which means you'll have different grips to switch to if fingertip doesn't work for you, and they are solid performers in my experience, offering the best balance between speed and stability on this list. The HTX is slowly becoming my go-to mouse pick, regardless of the surface that I play on. If you're on a tight budget, the Orochi V2 is a banger, and you can get it really cheap on AliExpress or for £40 off of Amazon. You can't go wrong with the Orochi V2 if you're on a budget. It's probably the best bang for your buck on this list. I hope that video helped you in some way, and if it did, you might consider subscribing to the channel. Definitely hit that like button, and maybe if you have a question, I'll see you in the comments down below. All right, thank you, bye-bye.